Like when you were born?
March the 24th, 1919.
March the 24th,
Mm-hmm.
1919. Okay, make sure I have that right.
In Apple Creek.
In Apple Creek, and you told me in a house on Bank Street in Apple Creek.
It's still there.
Okay.
It's a yellow house, big house. They got apartments in it now.
It's right on the corner of Bank and Main?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, make
Making
sure.
250.
Okay. Wanted to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you and Doyle get married?
November the 8th. No, 7th.
November 7th,
1946. And we
1946.
were married 46 years, or 48 years before he died.
Okay. And I wanted to make sure I had that correct because you and I had talked it, but I forgot to ask you that when I was here the other day. And your parents' names?
Leonard, Leonard, and Marie.
Marie?
Mm-hmm. Yates.
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 Okay. And
They lived in Apple Creek from 1918, I guess it was.
they moved to Apple Creek in 1918?
Mm-hmm. They were there before I was born. Because I was born there in Apple Creek.
Okay. And you had said the doctor that helped with the delivery wasn't Dr. Mears?
No, but I don't know.
You don't remember who that one
I had
was?
to get out
Okay.
the certificate.
Okay. And did you attend Apple Creek High School or
Yes, in grade school.
in grade school?
I was there all 12 years. But
And
why is this all about me?
this is like a fact sheet on the person we interviewed,
Oh,
and it goes with the tape as the background information on the person we interviewed. And it's just a fact sheet that gets turned in to Jim. And basically it's to give us a time frame from what you would remember. In other words, you should remember from 1920s on to today, right?
I should, but
Right.
I don't know if I can.
When did you attend Apple Creek High School? What years do you remember?
From 1925. I got my first grade school picture, but I didn't get it out.
That's okay. 1925. And when did you graduate?
1937.
1937. And you got your high school diploma. Did you ever go to college?
I went to Columbus just for about 6 or 7 months old, so don't put that down.
Okay.
It was a commercial college,
Okay.
business.
Business college? Okay. And did you ever work outside the home? You said telephone company, I think, the other day.
Well, that was just, I worked at the telephone company in Worcester.
Okay.
I was the address graph operator. I worked at Freelanders before that. And I worked at, what was the other one? It was a Dollar General, or Dollar Store.
Annett's, Newberry's,
Newberries.
Newberry's?
I worked there a few years before I was just 18 then.
Okay.
And then after I graduated from school, I worked at Freelanders for the Christmas rush.
Okay.
And then they hired me after that.
Did you work there for a long time?
I worked there till let me think a minute. 19, I graduated in 37. I worked there until about 1940.
1940?
Then I went to the Ohio Telephone Company.
Ohio Telephone
I
Company.
think that's what it was called. It's
Okay.
been so long ago. And I worked there then until I got married.
Okay, so that would be 1946.
I was the addressographer. I had to make stencil copies
Okay.
of people who had telephones. Then I run the bills from those
Sounds like an interesting job.
for Mount Vernon, Cardigan, Caledonia. And then we'd send them on the bus to Mount Vernon.
Okay.
And then they picked their bills up there.
Huh, I didn't realize they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any special awards or honors that you've ever received?
I don't think,
Okay.
unless you want to tell you, and I was a bicentennial here.
Oh, bicentennial person?
Well, it was just for our home here. It wasn't for a big community or anything.
Okay.
It's the pictures over there.
I know, you showed me that.
Yeah, there was 5 halls, and they picked out 5.
5 people, didn't
Yeah,
they?
one out of each hall.
Let's see, I need to find that. She's very proud of this.
But you don't need to put that in.
Oh, yeah. She's very proud of this honor that she got. Can you get that? Am I holding it steady?
It takes this a minute to focus.
Okay, got it?
I'm
Got
going
more
in
light.
slowly. Oh, that's her on the right.
Mm-hmm.
But when I zoom in, then I wait for it to focus.
Okay.
It's not focusing anymore.
All right.
Okay, we got it.
Okay. That's the neat thing about that camera.
That's all right.
That is a neat picture. She's quite proud of being the bicentennial person.
Oh yeah, they had me all decked out in red, white, and blue.
Right.
I even had my shoes with bows on.
That is something. And I know that you attended St. Peter's United Church of Christ, but you had told me you attended the other church too.
The Methodist church.
Okay.
I was going to say crucified. I was
No.
baptized
there?
in the white church. And then when we got married, I joined St. Peter's.
Okay. And that's basically what I needed in the way of some background information. Okay?
I did belong to the guild.
Oh, that's right, you did,
Women's
didn't you?
Guild.
Women's Guild. Any other groups you belong to?
Well, we had our own club. We call it the Mary Max. 9 Mary Max. It was at a time when we were supposed to go in with the ladies of the church to the guild. And we didn't want to because we thought we weren't old enough to be in that class.
Okay.
So we made a class or a party of our own. So we had parties up until 1948.
Okay.
Then we had Secret Sisters every year. All that time. Yeah, it was Norma Jean Knoble and Mabel Orr and Mary Glasgow and I can't think of all of them
Okay.
right offhand.
All right.
Because we took some others in between times. Some others would join, but they never stayed with us very long.
Okay.
Guess they didn't like us.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. All right. Okay, you and I had talked earlier about some of the things you remembered, and you said that you remembered growing up in Apple Creek and in East Union Township in general. And what are some of the first memories that you have of that time period?
Oh my.
And I know you talked about the railroad track,
Yeah.
going up to see the trains.
Gosh. Well, see, we lived in the yellow house. Then we moved up to where, beside Studer's right there on 250. Then we moved to another place. And my brother was born up beside where Paul Maurer lived.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to go and ask Paul about his dad's variety store,
Okay.
shoe store, if you want to.
Okay. And what was the name of the stores? Do you remember? Or are they just called Maurer's? Or
Probably just Maurer's.
but he had a grocery store and a shoe store?
No, just a variety
A
store.
variety store.
But mostly shoes.
Mostly shoes at the variety store. Okay. Did you
I
buy
did.
shoes there?
Oh, I suppose I did.
Okay.
In years past.
In years past, all right.
And did you know that Ted Maury had the funeral home?
No, I didn't. Where was
in
that?
Worcester, or in Apple Creek,
No.
where Mary Glasgow lives.
Used to be a funeral home?
And he had he had his funeral home downtown, in where the grocery store was, where, now I can't think of their name. The first one, who has it, Lehman has it now, I think. It's the first one when you get downtown, from away from the house.
You mean where Pam and Bill's is now? Or where Onstitz used to have the grocery store? Okay.
That was his first funeral home, and then they lived upstairs.
In the apartment above it?
And then, in years to come, then they moved up to this big house.
Where Mary Glasgow lives now?
And then they were there for a while, and then he went in. I can't tell you the years, but maybe Mary could.
Okay, because I want to interview Mary too.
And Paul Maurer might be able to tell you, because they were very good friends. They lived neighbors for years. Ted and Paul and his family.
Okay.
And anyway, then that's where he had his funeral home. And in Mary's, when you go in the front door, and to the right, there's a little room there. Well, that's where he always had his viewing.
The viewing for the body?
Yeah, and then Neil used to come over and help him do embalming and stuff like that.
Huh. I never heard that story before.
Yeah, that's how Neil went to McIntyre's to work.
Okay. That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, Neil, and the same way with Paul. He worked for Jeff Carson for years and years in a drugstore.
And then he became a druggist?
And then he has his own drugstore in Worcester. Maurer's Drugs.
Okay.
You know where that is?
Yes, I do know. I've been there for Mom.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Okay.
he ended up doing.
Okay.
And of course, we were all born in 1918 or 19.
It's quite a long time ago, Mary. You've got a lot of information there. As such.
I know it's a long time ago.
All right. Now, I'd like to work in your pictures that you have.
Well, you take whichever ones you want.
Okay. Now, you and I had talked about the fact that you grew up in the Apple Creek area and that your dad and his brothers had the meat store, right?
And it has meat market right on the picture. Yates Meats.
Am I
on that
shaking
one-
too much
on
for
that one window. Kind of like to the side.
Is it focused well
Here, I'll
enough?
show you.
All right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
don't
I think
I'll
it's
be able
a
to
lot
pick
of
that
them.
up.
get that on
Okay.
the camera, but I'll get close.
I think there's somebody sitting on the front porch, but I can't tell.
You mean besides the little girl? Someone else?
Off onto the other side there on the porch. Here, let me
This
show you
far?
where I mean.
Okay. Over at this side?
Right there. Right in there.
But you think that's you going up the steps? Okay.
I'm sure
Oh.
it is because.
Now where's this at exactly now?
The building was the wooden nickel, right now?
Okay.
Yeah, it was a meat market. That's all they sold was
Okay.
meat.
Okay.
And they butchered and bought their own things.
Now, you were telling me they butchered out near where I live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is in that field where Gessels have the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was there a building there that they did the butchering?
They had what they called the slaughterhouse. And they butchered hogs and beeves out there. And then there was a water well, or water was there too. It's still there.
Artesian well type thing?
Yeah, the pump
Okay.
is still there. I think, unless Gessels have taken it out. Well, they resold it now.
Yes, I heard that.
They don't own it. But that's where they did their butchering.
Okay.
Buzz Barnes lived up on the top of the hill right there where Mrs. Weldy's house was.
Okay.
or is,
Right.
but Buzz was a bachelor, I think. But anyhow, that's where he lived. And so when my dad would butcher, sometimes some of us kids from town would go out and get on the porch there till he got his stuff butchered.
Okay, and sort of wait for Dad to get done, huh?
Yeah.
All right. That sounds neat.
Well,
So,
I don't want you to put all this in.
well,
Now let's find something
What
else
else
to talk
talk
about.
about. How about the trains? Because you told me as a young person that you went down to the railroad tracks,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And then when it flooded so bad here a few years ago, why the tracks were all flooded out.
This is looking good.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, on the train, what do you remember about the trains coming into town?
Well, they came in there and they picked up kids to go to the army.
Okay.
Yeah, they picked up kids to go to the army there.
Okay.
I don't think I ever rode the train.
And did people come to visit you on the train, though? Did you go meet them at the tracks?
Oh, yeah. There were different ones, but I wouldn't know who now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at this one and see if this jars your memory.
Okay.
What's that one?
This one, let's let her get a picture of it up here. Does it show up all right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's so. Actually, I can get. It looks like I'm there.
Okay. On this one here, with the train.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was this the one that you told me was a little bit before your time? Or was this one that you said that you remembered the building back here?
Oh, yeah. This is the flour mill, Studer's flour mill. And this was a station where you got on the train to
Okay.
wait for the train to come. And they always threw our mail off there.
Just tossed it off on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, and then it was sorted at the post office. We had a post office
In town.
years ago.
Now, was it down where the old post office was that I remember, or was it somewhere in
Or
one
do
of
you
the...
remember?
I remember next to where the Ohio gas station was.
No.
No, where was the post
Or
office?
do you know where the bank used to be?
Mm-hmm.
Up above?
Not quite sure on that one. Where the bank is now, it wasn't there then, right?
Mm-mm.
Where was it? Let's clarify that.
It was there, but not all that room.
Okay.
There was a tin shop and a telephone and Jeff Carson's, what do we call it? Carson's, I guess we just call it Carson's drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
And
The post office was in one of those buildings
it was in between Carson's drugstore and the bank.
in the bank.
And then there was a
I
restaurant
wanna
in
see that
between there
again.
too.
Okay.
There was a restaurant in between there
Yes.
too.
Yeah, where she said they threw the mail off. That little building right alongside there.
Right, that's where the
Okay.
depot was.
That
Let me
was
get
the
that
waiting
closer.
room. I mean, that's where they threw the mail off
Mm-hmm.
for the post office.
Okay.
Okay. You know what? There was a picture of the telephone company. Maybe
Right.
that's
Well,
what
she's
she's
just talking about.
It's squeezed in between the buildings. See, I think
Here's
I
the
saw it
building
more
here,
on this
okay.
one here.
Is it on one of these here? Well, these two we talked about. So if it was like on one of these,
No, it's above that.
above this one,
It's above the tracks.
is
Right.
that?
No, this is
What about this one here? This shows both sides of the street. This shows the way
That's
they
down
go
too far.
Okay.
I thought we had one here that had a telephone company.
It does. It says telephone
Where it went.
company.
Am I not
it was
seeing
on the same
Oh,
side.
here it is, right here.
Here. Okay.
It's just a little place with a telephone.
Do you want to get a picture of this?
Or don't get me in the picture.
No.
She can zoom in on it. She can change the focus on it.
Mm.
So she should be getting
Okay, there's a restaurant to the left, and there's the telephone company.
Mm-hmm.
Come on in.
It's just housekeeping. I'll come back later, Mary.
And that
Okay.
says Apple Creek. Oh,
Okay.
okay, go ahead.
All right. Now, you want to tell us what's in that picture?
This is it. Here's a telephone company, see?
Right.
Here's the bank. Here's the restaurant. There's the restaurant. And then this is where you went into the telephone company.
Okay.
I don't remember of it being that wide. It was just a little place.
Place. Okay.
And I only worked there 2 nights.
2 nights.
Two or three nights. When they changed from one telephone to another. From one automatic. See, we had the ringer type.
The ringer type, and then they went to one that didn't ring, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what the next one was. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been done, changed and again.
Now, the post office was with this group of buildings, or was it farther down the street?
It had been on this, between this and Carson's drugstore.
Okay, so close to this particular thing. A little bit farther down the street then. Okay.
I don't think this was the post office in
Do you
there.
remember anything about the hotel and restaurant in here?
Yeah, it was run by Hershey's. to start-
Hershey's?
Hershey's to
Okay.
start with, and then Bert and Jim Smedley had it. I think it's Hershey's.
Okay.
It was, Greta Maurer.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know Greta?
Yes.
Well, it was her mother that had it,
Okay.
but I think her name was Hershey.
Okay.
And I don't know, that might be some of this, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm sure this is where we went in to use the telephone.
Use the telephone there. Okay. All right. Let's try another one.
Let's try this one. This was an old picture. That's
Okay, this
taken
one
before.
shows
Well, now this is the
That-
bank.
the bank is there. Now, let's see. That says a bakery.
Oh, okay.
Let's get her to take a picture of this, okay? So we know what we're talking about. Is that showing up well enough?
Yeah.
See,
Okay.
that would be right at the alley
Okay.
where the hardware store is now.
Okay. This says bakery.
Mm-hmm.
And this says Brian's Department Store and LB or IB West.
Mm-hmm.
Any ideas on who those would be? Or this is a little bit before your time, I think.
Yes, it is. It is.
But there's the railroad track.
Well, now let me think. This wouldn't be on the left side of the street, would it? 'Cause that's where
Look
the
out.
That's where the bakery was.
Okay. If it's on the left side of the street, it would make.
And then this was, what'd you say?
This says Brian's Department Store in West.
Yeah, well, this was a hardware store like.
Okay. And this says it was taken in 1911, so this would be a little bit before you were
Yeah.
born.
Well, and the buildings were all here after I was born.
Okay, but they weren't all this, were they? Was it still the bakery after you were born, or
I don't know,
you don't remember? Okay.
because I know my mom said she worked in the bakery, but it was on the right side of the road, just after they're close to the railroad track.
Well, that shows it that way because here's the railroad track,
Mhm.
and if it's on the right side of the road, then we would be looking east.
Yeah, it would be. Well, she worked in it, and then this was a grocery store at one time, and
Mhm.
that's where Charlie Vidal had his grocery.
He had his grocery store there.
Mhm. And then
Okay.
there was a house beside, an apartment house beside
Okay.
it, and that's where Snowball.
which one's the grocery?
You know Snowball and Tim.
Where it says Brian's Department Store
Probably.
Okay.
on here was a grocery store at one time, from what she remembers. Okay. Any others there that we? The one with Durs and the gas station in particular, she knows a lot about that one.
Okay. Maybe this one?
Okay. That's an old one.
What, just the top one?
Yeah, just take the top thing, okay?
Oh, what's that?
Okay, this one is Durs service station, and I need to get her behind the camera to zoom in on this, okay?
I think that was right along Main Street.
Okay. Well,
It'd
this
be-
says West Main Street at High. This would be down by the meat market. Ready?
It was down
If,
farther than
it'd
that.
be good if I could, if we could see the picture as she's talking about it, but I'd have to
know.
get behind her, I guess,
To do that. But
Okay.
you have it.
And if you could tell me who the people are.
Okay. Can you tell us who the people are? You said that you thought Mr. Durr was one of them the other day when I talked with you.
Oh, I can't tell who it is. Unless this is,
Is that Alvin?
that might have been Alvin, and this might have been his son.
Okay.
Or just a kid in town that pumped gas for him.
Okay. Now, you had told me that Durr was related to your husband. And how was he related to your husband?
His wife and my husband were sister or brother.
Brother?
No, cousins.
Cousins? Okay, cousins, okay.
Yeah, first cousins.
And did you get gas there? At his gas
suppose-
station?
I suppose we did,
Okay.
because, well, there was another one down where the Ford garage is now. That was Doty's garage.
Doty's garage was down there. Okay. And he pumped gas
Yeah.
because I remember my brother pumping gas for him at
Well,
one
and
time.
then this Smedley, Jim and Bert Smedley, had a little grocery down in that vicinity, and they pumped gas.
Okay, so there were several gas stations in town over the years.
Yeah, there was.
And then Webstoffer had the one that was this Ohio station for a long time.
Is that the one where Pep was?
Yes.
Are we done with
So,
that picture?
yes.
Here's this Ohio.
Okay. And this one. Okay. Am I holding it good enough or?
Yeah. Okay, that's going up Mill Street, right?
Right. This would be High Street in town, Millbourne out of town. It's right at the corner across
Yeah, I
from
know where
the.
that is.
Okay. Now the Standard Oil Company, I know that Pep and I know that Webstoffer both had that as a gas station at one time.
So did Pep.
Okay. And the building right behind it, was that part of the feed mill or was that a different?
This little building
Right.
here was the one where Charlie had his barber shop.
The barber shop was right behind the gas station in that
And
little
this
building.
is part of Studer's here.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because these buildings on up the street, I always assumed were part of Studer's, where they
Well,
stored things and
They're,
in their mill.
they're the,
About it, okay?
all I know is there's a screen door factory, and that's where Rollins Shook had.
Tilt it a little bit. There you go.
Okay. And the screen door factory was located in the set of buildings next to Studer's Mill, or right in that section?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might have been on the other street, but I don't think so.
Looks like the track is here, which would put
Yeah,
it
that's what I
towards
think.
High Street.
Yeah,
Okay.
that, I'm sure that's where it is.
Okay, and that would include this set here too? In other words, this
yeah.
one would be right in this, right in here somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would include Charlie's barber shop down
Okay.
on this side.
All right.
Yeah, you got a better picture of it.
Right. Okay, let's see what else we have here that we can use. And that would be including this right here too. Because isn't this the flour mill, the building for that? This
Yes.
would be Studer's here.
Yeah, but that isn't down in here. That's
Okay.
clear at the end of the drive.
Okay, this is
Road.
farther up the road, but this is going out of town towards north, towards where Hackett Road is. This would be coming farther out of town.
It's gone. It's right before you get up to Gessel's.
Okay.
You just go on past that.
Past this a little bit would have been Ruth Weldy's house, and then where Gessel's had the sheep,
Yeah.
and then where we live. But it's on farther out on High Street where this
I don't
was.
know what they called it when it was there. I think they just called it Mill Street
Okay.
because they changed the names in the town.
I know they did. They changed some of those names that were there. Okay. And while we're talking about places in town, now this gas station or gas pump here,
is right below the cracks.
right
This
below.
was Charlie Bidle's grocery. Then there was a little place here where you could live. This was a bakery here. And this was Mary and Waldo Fouts had this as a grocery store.
Okay.
And then on the other side of that is an alley. And then the next place was where the restaurant is.
Okay.
So that's where the grocery store is now, you mean?
Yeah, the grocery
Okay.
store is there now. It uses all these,
This where this was tore down.
hmm
Okay.
Okay.
and they use it clear down to the alley.
Okay. And we have some other pictures here of town too.
Well, this is Lee Messner's, well, what do I want to call it? What do you call them now? I can't think.
Was it like a grocery store, a variety store,
No.
or
Mostly.
Department?
Huh?
Department store?
No, it was mostly
shoes,
tools.
hardware,
Yeah.
hardware store?
Mm-hmm. And he
Okay.
had that. And then here, this is the alley, and that's a bank.
Okay. And this one shows railroad tracks, and this looks like the wooden nickel building here. Is that right?
But I was,
This looks like it's going up the hill towards our church.
mm-hmm.
Or am
Well,
I?
no, this isn't where the wooden nickel is.
What is this then? Am I going the other way on the street, or
Yeah, that's more the grocery store.
more the grocery store? Okay.
Isn't there a gas pump in front of it?
I don't. The tracks are here.
Mm-hmm. Well, then if the tracks are there, you're going this way.
Okay.
So this is the corner of the grocery store.
Okay.
And this is the other side where the West and all them were.
Okay.
In the Odd Fellows building.
And the Oddfellows building too.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know you have two churches here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go with this one first. Now this is the Methodist church,
Mm-hmm.
and you attended that when you
Just
were little.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's where I was baptized.
do you remember who the minister was that baptized you? Or any of the ministers at the Methodist church? Do you remember
I
any?
remember Spence.
Spence?
Maybe in Hartle's dad.
Mavine's dad was a minister there?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that.
Didn't you?
No.
Yeah, he was a minister there. And of course, when I was little, I don't remember who was there.
Okay. Okay, this is the
And I can't
Methodist
think who
church.
else. So maybe Paul or some of the others can tell
Okay.
you more.
All right. And this is, let's see, this is the other church. This is St. Peter's now. This was Evangelical and Reformed Church
Yeah,
before that. And then it became St. Peter's United Church of Christ.
right.
And you were married there?
Mm-hmm. In the church.
And do you remember who the minister was that married you?
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel?
Charles Ezekiel.
Okay.
The younger Ezekiel.
The younger
Did you,
Ezekiel.
did you know him?
No, that's before my time, Mary. See, you know more than I do.
Yeah.
And well, who are some of the other ministers that you remember?
Oh my. And see, then they made another Ezekiel that was a minister there years ago that was related to Mary Glasgow. They made him, what do you call it, minister?
Emeritus?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been some relation to Mary Glasgow.
All right.
And I can't tell you. We'll see
Okay.
who was all there. Hartman,
Hartman was there. Hartman is the first minister I remember.
is it?
Yes. And what I remember was he drove the school bus, and when we moved to town, he invited my parents and my brothers and I to church, and that's when we became members after that.
was nice.
So I do remember that. So, and this is the schoolhouse.
Yep.
Okay, you wanna?
I don't know who's standing on
You don't know who's standing on that one.
Well, we don't know. Somebody says my dad.
Somebody thinks it's your dad.
Yeah, because
But that's a long time ago.
well, see, he would go with somebody else to sales,
Okay.
and then he'd go down to the street to wait till they come.
Okay, and he could have been waiting there in front of the
Could
schoolhouse.
have been, but I don't think it is.
Now, when you went to school, this was an elementary through high school type building.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it was.
Okay, so grades
Yeah,
1 through
grade-
12.
The grades were 1 and 2 in one room.
Now,
Two.
2 and 3 in another, or
No,
3 and 4 in
3
another.
and 4, 5 and 6, and 7 and 8.
Now, did you have different teachers when you got to high school then for the different subjects?
Mm-hmm. And we had different teachers for there.
Okay.
Our teacher for the first grade was, I'm just thinking about her a while ago.
Okay.
She's related to Shirley Howell,
Related to Shirley Howe.
Shirley Bernard.
Okay.
Oh. I just thought of her before you come.
Well, maybe you'll think of her again, and if you do, we can come back to that, all right?
I'm not sure now where that is.
This looks like the road is bricked. Would this be 250 after they put bricks down on it? Because my
Could
mom
be.
said that
It
250.
was mud.
It was mud because in that one picture you show here,
Oh yeah.
there's mud there.
Oh yeah. It was all mud.
It was all mud because this shows like it's muddy there, but this shows like there's bricks down.
Well,
Tilt that one.
I don't know when they did it, but I think Nova's husband helped to lay the bricks.
When they went through town.
Mm-hmm. I know he helped to lay them, but I don't know when it was.
Okay. This almost looks like it's a picture of town going in either in or out of town.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say on the back of the. Doesn't say who or what on the back on that. But it almost reminds me of 250 going out towards Waynedale.
Well, that's what I thought too. Maybe it did. I don't know if you can see the house.
House is well enough to decide or not. But it reminds me of that section of town.
Well, then there's another section similar.
This one here is outside of town. Is this
I think this is out of the West Bridge.
the West Bridge?
I think. Because it would be bigger. You know,
Would this be like where the veterinary clinic is now?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what that house looks like.
Yeah, that would be. Is there a water tank in the front of it? Cement water trough?
I can't tell on the picture if there is or isn't on there. Shows looks like somebody's walking along the road and a car coming down the road, and the road looks like it's again muddy.
Oh yeah, it would be there. I know which way the car's going.
I think it's coming towards us
Could
because
be.
you see the front of the car there. And this almost looks like it's got a reflection, like somebody took this out of in a car, riding in another car through a back window or something, because it's sort of like a little glare on
Well, I
there.
thought maybe it was at the west end
Mm-hmm.
because it would be a wider bridge.
Then at the east,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, it would have went over the creek
Mm-hmm.
where the one of town on the east end. It's just
It's a dribble of a creek there. It's not a real big stream,
No, it isn't
real deep.
as big a creek.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that pretty well goes through all the pictures you dug out for us. I think what we need to look at is the pictures yet that we brought. What do we have left on those?
Let's see, we looked at this one and those two. And
I don't know how you keep straight.
Well, we try hard. The nice thing, Mary, is that we have somebody who edits this after we get done to make it,
Well,
That's a newer picture.
that's all right.
okay? Okay, this one shows Apple Creek Banking Company there.
Well, see that? And then this is the telephone, and this is the restaurant, and this is the
That
post
says
office.
Johnny Inn. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Johnny Rees. And
I
then,
didn't know who all did own it.
okay.
I know Hershey's had it at one time.
This is the one Hershey's had at one time.
Yeah, and Bert and Jim Smedley did too. And this is the post office, I think.
Okay, can't really tell there. Well, was this then Carson's drugstore down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, wasn't this also the snack shop where Pete Riles and Esther Riles had
Yeah.
the snack shop at one time too? Because I remember that being there.
Yeah. It was.
Okay.
Several different ones we had.
Had that as a restaurant or a diner or something similar
Yeah.
to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Of course, it looks different now.
It all looks different. None of these are here now. The only building left in this section is that one right there. Because I remember when they were tearing that stuff down to make the parking lot.
Oh.
I do remember that. So,
Yeah.
That would
well,
be
and
a long time ago.
Then on this side here too, there was a tin shop on the other side of Carson's drugstore. There was a tin shop and a shoe shop where they.
now is that where Cotterman Shoes was? Do you remember the
don't-
name? Or
I don't remember Cotterman.
okay.
I can't even think of who they.
The reason I asked that is Howard Becker showed us a thing to button shoes with, and it said Cotterman Shoes, Apple Creek, Ohio on it.
Did it.
Yes,
Too bad he isn't here.
I know.
He-
We got him in the interview showing us that, and we got a picture of the thing.
Good.
And he was the one who told me come talk to you because you had good stories.
Oh,
But the whole thing was, I just wondered if that was where the shoe
Well, it
store
could have
was.
been.
It could have been, or maybe,
maybe
there.
that was some of the shoes that they carried.
I don't know. I have no idea on that. All I know is that the little button thing
Yeah.
said Cotterman Shoes on. So that would be interesting.
Yeah. Well, he's lived in Apple Creek quite a long while.
Oh, he did. A very long time before he passed away. Okay, was there anything else on these that we should have? I think we pretty well talked about those. We did that one. Trying to remember if we missed anything. I don't know if I have these out. Let's try this one. This one says Ryder Grocery Store, bricked over, 1950 apartments above, and grocery Glen Hawk. Does any of this look familiar to you?
This is Glen Hawk. Owned this grocery here.
Okay. Do you remember anything about him?
Oh, he was a tall guy.
Okay.
Very pleasant.
All right.
I don't think he's married. I think he was
Okay.
single.
I think we need to move this.
You backing out of there?
I wanted to know what time it was. I thought maybe I ought to go up to
A
lunch.
quarter till 11, Marie.
Oh, well, then I never go to 11:30,
Okay.
Okay.
so I better.
Better.
Tell me
you
when
okay
it's
then?
11:30 and then I'll back out.
Okay.
Alrighty.
I don't need to go yet.
All right.
I always go.
Because we'll
out.
move stuff if we need to for you.
I'll stand here for the heat. There's a little heat coming out of here, so it's good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, those are the same ones that we've been,
Okay.
you know, where I said the bakery was.
Right.
And then down here was Mary and Rollo Fauch's grocery.
Okay. Now this shows going the other way on the street, I think, because here's the drugstore. This would be Carson's drugstore.
Mm-hmm.
And the bank should be in here.
Yeah.
And this would be where today is the Wooden Nickel, but was Yates's meat market. And this would be looking up the street towards St. Peter's United Church of Christ, because it would be up here behind the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there anything else that you can think of that you remember about that section of town?
I wouldn't know what to tell you.
Okay. What about people in town that you remember? Is there
The
anybody?
pictures.
I think.
Well, no, I can't think of his name.
Who's?
When I graduated from high school, I got some money for my graduation.
Mm-hmm.
So he made cedar chests.
Do you remember who that was? I understand a gentleman lived there next to where Amstus's grocery store, where Falbs live. That he made cedar chests in one of
Who
those.
was it?
I don't know. My mom has been dying to find somebody who remembered who it was. But did you buy a cedar chest from
Yeah.
him?
I did.
But you can't remember who it
No,
was.
but I paid $12 for it.
Okay. Did you sell it at the sale, or did somebody in the family keep it?
No, nobody wanted it.
Nobody wanted it.
Oh
So
my.
I sold it.
Oh boy.
I don't know what it brought. Do you know, I had my sale and I've never looked at the sale bills.
You never did.
Want me to do that?
Yeah.
No, I never looked to see what anything brought. All I know is that they told me my corner cupboard brought, what was it, $1,300 or $1,400.
Must have been somebody after that for an antique.
Well, it was, cherry, I think.
Okay. Now we've talked about basically town, but you and Doyle lived on a farm in East Union Township. When did you move out to the farm?
When we got married,
When you got married?
we lived in a trailer from the time we got married until the following June.
Now, did you build the house out there?
Oh, no.
Or was it already?
It's there.
Okay.
It's on that picture there.
Okay.
No, his folks lived there.
All right. And you
He
lived in.
bought it in 1927.
Okay. And I know that you just recently sold it, so you've had it in the family a long, long time. Now, basically, what I remember is you had dairy cattle and did general farming. Is that basically what you did the whole time you were there?
Dairy farm.
Dairy farm.
We had Holstein cows. He never wanted any other kind.
Okay.
But we did have a brown Swiss once.
Once? Okay.
And she's on that picture there that's on wood.
Okay.
That's the
Above
reason I
there.
kept the picture.
All right.
She'd be right down here at this end.
Huh.
They just happened to get her laying down.
Okay. That's different.
Yeah. So I said, well, I was going to keep it. And then I brought this one too.
Mm-hmm.
We just built that shed in the last, I'll see the whole thing going 8 years, so it was probably 20 years ago,
20 years ago. Okay.
because he had it built quite a while before he died.
Okay. Was there anybody as to people that came to your home from Apple Creek that you thought of quite a bit?
Oh yeah.
Now, who would you include in that group?
Well, we always were good friends with Charlie and Eva George,
Okay.
and they came, and Howard and his wife always come.
Howard Becker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
See, we had a big maple tree on Sylvan Road, and it blew over one day and just came within inches of hitting the house.
Oh boy. But that scared you.
It did. So anyhow, he said he'd come out and trim the tree, and so that's what he did.
Okay.
So
You
then
use that wood to make apple butter then probably?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I have a picture of us when we were at the Centennial
Okay.
stirring.
Stirring apple butter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we went there one year and stirred apple butter and bottled it and everything that night
Oh boy.
and sold it. We made it in pint jars.
Okay. Anybody else that you remember in particular? I know Howard Becker thought quite a bit of you. And
Yeah, I
Doyle.
know he did. He liked Doyle and I liked them. I liked his wife too. She was a very nice lady.
She was.
When she was herself, the last few years, she was kind of mixed up.
But she was still a sweet lady.
Oh, yes.
Because I know my brother went fishing with her down at the creek.
Oh, did he?
Yes, Rick did. So,
That was all right.
but now, anybody else in town, like Paul Miller, or you've talked about the Carsons and you've talked about the Mowers.
Well, we were always friends, but we didn't neighbor much.
Okay.
And it was the same way when we lived on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like you don't have time to do much.
You're
But then-
working 24 hours a day when you're on the farm.
Well,
As such.
anyhow, I had the Mary Mac do different times
Uh-huh.
out. And then the reason we quit was everybody was getting to be 80 years old.
So it wasn't a young group anymore.
No, and you didn't know what to buy anybody. And nobody needed anything really. Not that bad.
Uh-huh.
And see, so I had it the last time then down at the restaurant.
Did you?
Then we had it in there where they have the little, where they only have a room for 20 or something like that.
Was there anything that you remember about holiday traditions that your family did?
Well, we celebrated Thanksgiving and Christmas, anniversaries,
Anniversaries?
birthdays.
Okay. Did you do anything special in the way of presents that people gave back and forth, or were they basically homemade or bought or
Probably
bought? Okay.
most of them.
Mm-hmm.
We were never very ambitious.
Okay.
No, it wasn't that. But
Not creative, in other words.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't the craft kind.
Okay.
And then after my hands got like this, I can't do anything.
After your question, memories of the '69 flood would be good to hear.
Okay. What do you remember of the '69 flood?
Well, that's when the tracks were all washed out.
Okay, the
We were
railroad
at
tracks.
Lakeside,
Okay.
and John Springer was there too. Do you know John?
I know who you're talking about.
Well, anyhow, he was there. Well, we were good friends of theirs. And so he kept calling Kidron. How are we going to get home? How are we going to get home? So they could tell us where it was flooded,
And where it wasn't, so you could get home.
So that's the way we got home.
Okay.
But
I
we
call
Where the railroad tracks, did they lift up and float away? Do you remember where they landed?
No, I don't. But then they tore them out.
They tore the tracks out through town. I remember them doing
Yeah,
that.
well,
But what I remember getting floated or broken up or whatever, the bridges south of town got washed out, is what I remember.
Which one do you mean?
Between Apple Creek and Fredericksburg, there was a
Oh,
bridge
yeah.
that got washed out.
Well, and see, that's where the track washed out so bad. That's railroad track.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And then you could buy the land because they said they weren't going to rebuild because it wasn't advisable.
you could buy the right of way.
The right of way, because
Yeah.
that's what Mr. Bixler did there in town. He purchased where the new little shopping mall is.
Yeah, and then Oris bought some of the land out toward where they live.
Right.
And some people in Fredericksburg then, the Scots, not Darrell's, can't think of his first name. But anyhow, the Scots, they lived right around the creek.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought some of
the land down
the-
south.
where the railroad went through.
You know where that BP gas station is now? That the water was up there, and then it come up into town higher.
It washed down through the park area and down through.
Did it cover up the railroad tracks?
No, they
No.
tore them all. They were all tore
No.
up.
Oh,
No,
they
they-
did. Okay,
that
okay.
was
I was just wondering
yeah.
how high the water came up,
Oh, the water came up pretty high, from what I understand.
but not all the
Oh,
way to
yeah.
the tracks.
No.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
the tracks are all tore out before it was sold.
Yeah, because they didn't use them because it washed out down there towards Fredericksburg.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was real bad in Fredericksburg.
Still tends to flood down through town. It still floods down through town, so.
Oh, yeah. Well,
And I have a feeling, how many more stories have you got to tell? Do we need to come back and see you again?
No.
No?
I think I told you enough already.
Okay, but we didn't quite cover everything you wanted us to cover. But I think we did good because we had a lot of pictures to go through. And you had quite a few stories to tell about them
They
as such.
the high school Do you remember when it was built? Was it there when you went to first grade? It was already there.
Mm-hmm.
What year did you start first grade?
1925.
It was there in 25. Was it a pretty new building?
Oh, yeah. See,
Okay.
you know where we lived up the hill there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then across there, Roussel's, has some, about a couple houses, or built.
It has house, yeah.
They built 2 houses over there on that 4 acres.